topic we've been talking a lot about recently in a couple of our reacts in the past, where I think that a lot of people nowadays are becoming a lot dumber. Now, we've been seeing that a lot of people on the internet are becoming dumber. They're becoming psychopaths. They're very odd. They're acting very weirdly. And in general, I am seeing now a video from my friend Zach, or Asmongold as they call it, a video called "We're Living in an Idiocracy." Now, I had some conversations with him in the past about this. I had a couple discussions, but I never heard his full thoughts on it. And I'm going to see, we're going to watch a video on it now and do our little reacts. So let's check it out.
Hi guys, it's
Hi
me
guys.
again. Today we're gonna talk about something that
Why do you sound so sassy, Zach? Like, what is this? Why is Alman sounding so sassy? Hi, Queen.
everybody has experienced at least secondhand, and some people unknowingly have also experienced this firsthand as well. And that is going to be the decline of critical thought. This is something that I've been observing over the past 15 or 20 years or so, and I think that it's definitely started gaining momentum recently, and I want to explain and kind of talk about and explore.
I think it has definitely done it, and you can see that because it's an outrage culture in itself, but you definitely gain momentum because we're coming into a time where people are less likely to even learn something and more likely to look something up. We have been going through a time now. We're getting with a generation that have grown up by using the internet. We're coming in a generation that has been learning things every time. They never need to learn anything. They never have to critical think. All they do is look it up. They read it. They say it, and it goes out of the other ear. People just generally, I mean, people just generally take everything for face value now as well. There's a lot of things going on now, man.
Why is that really happening? And this is a very popular topic in conversation and
He's starting to sound like an old man yelling at the kids on the lawn. Yeah, we're getting there. Give him a few more years.
Sure. There are things like Idiocracy.
He's already 60 years old.
There's the age-old question that people seem to be asking more often recently, which distilled down is something like, why are people so fucking retarded nowadays?
True.
And today, we're going to answer that question.
He said the R word.
I actually think that there's a number of reasons for this that make a lot of sense. And the first thing you have to understand is that you have to understand that people need an identity. And that identity used to be tied to a religion, which, by the way, required you to do the exact same thing that secular ideology requires you to do as well. But the religion was a little bit more creative about it. And let's be honest, a burning bush is a little bit more exciting than climate change, isn't it?
It kind of is. Like, you see the burning bush, right? Oh my God, it's God. Compared to climate change, you don't really see it. You need to think about the changes and remember of the past and take it for like it's not like it's just a face value thing. You know what I mean?
But I can show you guys how there's definitely a correlation there. And
like,
so
I'm so surprised we live in a time where people think the earth is flat. Like, is that not crazy? Like, am I the only one that think to myself, it is fucking nuts that we're still sitting here and people are thinking that you can run out of the edge of the earth. What the fuck?
Anyway, this begins as a kid.
It is
and
flat
I think that
though, yeah, true.
nowadays, kids, I mean, I feel bad for a kid nowadays. They're growing up, they're 2 and 3.
I agree.
Years old, they're getting addicted to cocoa melon, then they
That's the problem, is that a kid starts life in front of the fucking iPad. It's, first of all, their attention span down the drain, man. Like, it's insane. I wonder how much kids nowadays, like actual kids, like 6 to 12 years or 13-year-olds, how many of them go outside and play? Like, just chill out. How many of them sit at home? Like, it's, I wonder how it goes nowadays.
get older, they've got Mr. Beast selling them, you know, chocolate.
Yum.
And there's like, oh, well, this is supposed to be healthy, and it's not. They get a little bit older, they start, you know, they turn 8 years old, they can finally write their name, and then by the time they turn 10, they learn about galaxy gas, and then they forget their name again. And so, you
Galaxy
think about
gas
as a kid nowadays, and you're really getting spawn camped pretty hard. But anyway, here's another component to it that's very interesting. Critical thought, and I think thinking as a concept, and you can think about this with IQ tests. With IQ tests, this, you know, as with any conversation of nature versus nurture, it's often, a lot of times, some from column A, some from column B. It's a little bit of both. You can actually train yourself to become better at IQ tests to an extent. And I think that also what's happened is that people have trained themselves to not critically think. And I think that what's happened is that if you have, your brain and you're thinking about things and you're trying to solve things out and reason them out, you train your brain. It's like a muscle, just like any other thing. And if you don't use it, you lose it. If you use your brain, you're able to use your brain more. And if you don't use your brain, you're not able to use your brain quite as much.
I agree entirely on this because, like, think about it. In the end of the day, he is right. He's entirely right on this, because why are people just generally unable to create conclusive thoughts themselves? Like, they have the answer in front of them. They're trying to cheat. If you come with an IQ test, why do people not give a shit about IQ tests anymore? Because IQ test is, at the end of the day, a test, right? It's a test, and people are learning how to do the IQ test themselves better. They're learning how to do it better and more efficiently, and they are basically using like a sort of form of a cheat sheet. And it's turning more people to focus on get an easy way out instead of like sitting for themselves and learn the curriculum, then sit there and learn and consume all of the content they are meant to digest. Like, it's always the faster road now. One in one ear and one in the other. Yo, perfect time. Hi, Zach. Thank you. How you doing, Rages? We're talking about we're living in an idiocracy. How y'all doing? Any thoughts on this?
And I think this has happened a lot, where people are effectively mentally AFK. And I think that they go AFK quite early on now in life. Because back whenever we were kids, and by we, I mean all the other boomers that remember 3,000 years ago in 1990.
Old ancients.
And we were kids, and we would be told, you won't have a calculator in your pocket. By the way, Miss Williams, you're fucking wrong.
You know, the funniest thing is that when they said that, I had my phone. Like, I had a phone. I had like a Sony Ericsson or some bullshit. I had a fucking phone. I had a calculator in my pocket. And they still said that.
Dumb bitch. I knew that she was dumb, and I was right. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that we all learned how to do addition. We all learned how to do multiplication.
True.
We learned how to divide fractions. And learning math is learning logic. And learning logic is learning how to critically think. And now that there are so many tools, calculators, things that you can take a picture of it and it just automatically solves the equation on your math test. There are all of these tools that people have for them nowadays that effectively take different instances of critical thought that a person would have to do, and now that critical thought no longer has to occur.
Bro, we have so many tools for AI to solve things, to make notes, to create like anything that you would need through your education. And whenever you have a button that will do the job for you, why would you yourself invest time into learning what to research, how to write it, how to construct it, how to do this and that? Like, why would you take that step when you have everything you got nowadays can make those things quicker and easier? Now you can go and hang out with your friends.
You no longer have to think about this yourself because the app does it for you.
Exactly.
You have computers now, and it's weird because, you're having like this weird, like, historical bell curve where actual boomers, don't know how to use a computer. And then people that are around, I'd say like 40 to like maybe 25 or so, definitely probably know how to use a computer.
I'm telling you right now, I have fucking worked, like, I think a few years ago, I worked at IT where you have to talk to customers. People that are 18 to 30, there's a lot of them that have no idea how to use their phone, how to use their damn computers. They don't know shit. But you don't have to be good at using anything to use these AI tools. It's an app. It's a button. You click this, you write that, it's there. You don't even need to learn how to cheat now. So if you don't even need to learn how to go through the courses or write notes or do anything of consumption of the content, you just have to read it in one ear, write out the other ear. There it is. Boom. It's so easy now. people don't even know anything. They don't even know how to use the most basic technology we have to this day. Like, I swear, we are the generation that has to teach both our parents and the children to use a PC. Yes, they can do the basic, but they don't know like anything more than that.
And what we're seeing now, this is really scary, is young people are now, again, learning how not to use computers. This is, by the way, another thing that Idiocracy predicted. And it's that there would be a bunch of, you know, like, wow, these machines, how do they work? Nobody knows. Well, anyway, nowadays, kids, because these computers are so well designed, they don't really break as often as you know, Windows 98 used to, or Windows XP used to. And you don't have to go into CMD to release and you know, redo your IP address every single time you get a new router. It just does that for its own. It does that on its own. It does that for itself. And because of that, people never really learn how to use computers. They don't really understand how the computer works. And I think that the problem with that, and I actually, and here's what's really crazy about that, is that I bet people that are 30 years older than me, 40 years older than me, would be saying this exact same thing about us with cars. Because now, every car, you don't have to open your hood.
They're all automated, right? You don't even have to do anything. You don't have to fix it. It's nearly all done. It's
figure out the way that it works. All you have to do is plug it into a little USB thing or a connector at AutoZone. It gives you an error code, and then you take it to the mechanic, and the mechanic fixes it based off of the error code. Much better system. However,
oh yeah, you don't even need to analyze it anymore. Because you got the fucking pad on the front seat that are literally telling you what the hell is wrong with the car. Oh my god.
A lot less about cars. And I think the same thing is happening with computers now, because computers are becoming much more defined.
I think self-driving cars is unsafe. I didn't mean safe driving car. I meant automated car. It's like the you know,
more enclosed systems that
instead
don't
of
require
a
as
manual.
much critical thought to reason out problems with them, because they're just better at solving the problems themselves, or in some cases you just get a new
Those errors aren't always right. They have a very iffy. Are they very like do they like, how often are they wrong though? Is it like a 10%, 20% chance they're wrong? Like I'm not sure. I've heard that they're very like, they're decent at least.
It's called planned obsolescence. Very cute. And so anyway, I think this is happening also with math. And every other form of critical thought is being outsourced to some sort of machine, to some sort of AI, to some sort of thing that is external from yourself. So now the individual, the kid, doesn't have to actually think about how to solve what is multiplication, what is a fraction, what is division, etc. Right?
Ask yourself, what does a kid have to solve or figure out themselves that they can't already do automatically on their phone? What are they missing? Is there anything they're missing besides knowing how to walk and eat?
Algebra, they don't have to understand the logical
their feelings.
Implications of
that's the problem,
because they have a computer that will do that for them.
No, you don't need that. You have AI. You have AI chat GPT and chat AI characters, so you can talk to your sexy anime husband or sexy anime wife on your phone, and that will solve your feelings. You're good.
Implications of algebra, because they have a computer that will do that for them. And I think the problem with that is that once you abstract so many avenues of critical thought, you, at a certain point, abstract critical thought itself. And the worst part about this is that it doesn't end in school. I think this has happened all across the entire culture. And every single group of people, and this is going to ruffle a few feathers here, and that's why I'm doing it. But there are a lot of things that, in my opinion, if you evaluate these things critically, you can easily see how they don't really make a lot of sense, and how there is a common conclusion that any normal, reasonable person would come to. I'll give you 2 examples, and we can maybe do 2 more examples. The first example is going to be the really easy one. This is the one that a lot of people can probably agree on. Have you ever seen the graphs or like the charts? This is for the America people here, that shows how many areas are red versus how many areas are blue, and they show, oh, well, look how many more red areas for Republicans versus Democrats. Why is it that, the races are so close? Well, it's because a mountain doesn't really have a lot of people living on it as much as the same way a city does, for example. And so it's basically people that are willfully misunderstanding data. But the problem here is that I think that we've had such a long time period of willful misunderstanding that people have stopped acting. And here's another one. Climate change. This is a really big one. Now, the big concept with climate change is not whether or not it's happening, it's whether people are causing it or not. Let's use a little bit of logic here. If you light a cigarette in a room, the room will smell like a cigarette. If you light a bunch of cigarettes in a house, the house will smell like cigarettes. If you have a lot of pollution in the city will have a lot of pollution in it, and it will be unsafe to breathe in. There are a lot of places, I think there's a few places like that used to be like that in China, for example. So in a theoretical world, it would be very logical that if you caused enough pollution, that you could negatively affect...
Asmon, you are missing a crucial point. The people that believe in like most flat earth and stuff don't even believe gas is real. That's made by the devil. This is fake news. This is all a lie. All these gases and this pollution thing you're talking about, this is a conspiracy made by the government. This is all fake. They're just trying to put more taxes and put more, make everything more expensive for reasons to seemingly make it seem more safe for the world.
Affect the earth in a bad way. This is somehow
people definitely do purposely misunderstand things. I think they're just dumb. I'll be real with you. I think they just create their own world scenario.
Bridge too far for many people, and many people are unwilling to even come to the conversation of thinking about whether this is happening or not. And I think the reason why is because that type of critical thought puts them at odds with the ideology that they subscribe to.
Yeah,
and this is something that, again, religion, we used to outsource this over to religion, but because people don't believe in that as much anymore, now we've decided to invent our own new forms of bullshit that, as I said before, are much less exciting than Jonah living in a fish.
Bro, that's the best way to say it. We have moved away from religion because we don't believe it anymore, so we have created our own form of bullshit. That's great. That's fucking great.
To be honest.
We humans love living in our bubbles.
So here's another one. Transgenders. Ooh, this one's going to get people. Obviously, a transgender, male to female is going to have a biological advantage against a biological female. All other things considered equal. Any reasonable person knows this, and you can easily see this too, that there are very few biological females to males that then go on to compete in sports at a professional or very high level. I'm sure it's happened once or twice, but I don't think exceptions prove rules. So the point is that all of these things are extrapolations of scientific reasoning and logical reasoning that, based off of which side of a different political spectrum you're on, you are not allowed to have these opinions. You are not allowed to think for yourself. And I think that's really what I'm getting at here.
I think also I do want to say this logical thinking backdrawing tends to hurt a lot of trans opinions. It's a very sad thing because like it's literally in the name, you're transsexual. And I think that like ignoring the logical outcome and ignoring like literal biology is just degrading like the whole like the community and the whole idea of it for everyone, because then you'll have people add more bullshit to it. And I don't know, like I think people just should be more honest about these things.
Is that you are no longer allowed to think for yourself, because thinking for yourself eventually takes you off of the off of the reservation or off of the range that you are supposed to be living in. You never want to think for yourself because you could accidentally make a mistake. You could think too far. You could commit a wrong think. And when somebody does this, they get completely excommunicated. I think a great example of this is J.K. Rowling. It's
crazy. Like even for like smaller people, they have like Google Docs and stuff like that. It's like a psycho ward. I never understood how people have like a time for this shit and why they care that much. Like I really think my brain is like, I don't know, maybe I don't think it this way, but like I really think the way my brain is thinking about things is not as normal as I would think. I don't know if they are very fucked up in their brain or I'm the normal one. I don't know, but I've never understood how people can sit there and think about these things, commit the wrong thing. No, thinking about somebody else rent-free 24/7, spending endless time creating documents of people you hate and sit there in a community based on hate, based on basically moving away and trying to excommunicate anyone related or any rational or thought around them, anything related to. I don't understand how people have time for it, and I don't understand at all how people even want to put time to it. It doesn't make sense in my brain. Like, I sat down and I thought about it. I'm like, why would you do this? But my brain is actually completely unable to understand people that are sitting there rent-free, like hate watchers. I have had, because I've been like I work with OTK, right? I've been with Zach a lot and stuff like that. I have never understood, and I've been on Twitch a long time. I have never understood hate watching. I've never understood these Twitter things. I've never understood it. And my brain, even while sitting down thinking about it, people explain it to me, and I still cannot. I can understand it by words, but I cannot actually understand it, if you know what I mean.
J.K. Rowling.
It's like, I don't know. I just think I don't know.
Said obviously the female experience is something that only biological.
Because people take social media as a second reality. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
females can experience in this unique way. Now, it doesn't mean trans women can't be women. It doesn't mean they shouldn't be treated like women. But
no,
the experience that trans women have is different than the experience that a biological woman has.
Of course.
This is a completely logical thing. I think that
and this is about biology, right? This is we're talking about biology here. Like, the chemical reactions happening in a woman's body is not happening the same as a transgendered woman body. The same thing. There's not that many. There's different chemical reaction happening in a male body, like it's happening in a male transgender's body. It's because our body is different. It's just plain biology, and completely like trying to play around with it and say it like it is not what it is completely idiocracy. It's stupid. It's dumb. Like, let's be honest. Why are we lying about this? And what do you gain by lying by this? What is it? What's the point? What's the point?
90% of people think this, but people have to live with their mind in a cage and pretend like they don't. And what I think happens is that as soon as a person sees what happened to, let's say, J.K. Rowling, where she gets completely excommunicated by her group of people, right? Because she used to be a very, like, liberal person, etc. She got totally excommunicated. Everybody hates her now. And she also, by the way, got way more radicalized to the other side. So it does have a negative effect, too. But most importantly, the point that I'm making here is the fact that when you think for yourself, when you let your own experiences dictate the way that you see the world, you oftentimes come into a direct contradiction with the ideologies that you are part of. And people don't like to think. People don't like nuance. And I think this has always been true, right? I mean, you know, we had Salem witch trials. They burnt Joan of Arc. Galileo was suppressed. I mean, we've always done this. But what's interesting nowadays is that it's done for a secular reason. And it's the interesting, circumstantial application of critical thinking when it's something that you've already agreed with the conclusion on. And I think that's what's really happened. And so you have people that are growing up in school and they ask questions, they, because, a kid thinks like, why is this way? And, oh, wait a minute, you can't ask that, you can't ask these, you can't think about it like this because this is the wrong way to think about it.
He's completely right on that. It's like, it's always one-sided. You can never look at another person's side. And I've noticed this, like, while being a reactor myself, like, I've noticed that a lot of people are appreciating people talking about both sides. Like, it's an insane thing to do. Like, you're trying to understand how people from the other side are viewing it and looking at it by looking at both sides the same way. And it's weird that you can never like think around the subject and only have one narrow view of it. This is what our society has turned into, unfortunately, when it comes to all of these opinions and situations.
And so now you're stepping outside of that box that you're supposed to stay in.
Yeah.
And I think this also dovetails very well into the way that cults work. Now, a lot of cults, there is a turning point, right?
Oh,
Whether
God.
when you're going from, you know, the under level to the upper level of the cult.
Yeah.
And this is the point where you are now given the arcane esoteric teachings of whatever madman decided to invent this cult.
Yeah.
But before you do that, you have to do some form of initiation that oftentimes requires you to forego your own logic, forego your own thinking, disregard reality, and accept their version of reality as your reality. And the reason for that is it's a degree of commitment. How committed to you are you to this cause in order for you to fully be part of our in-group? And I think that now people are performing that initiation ritual at a mass level. They are basically performing the initiation ritual themselves for society to see, oh, wait a minute, this person is actually part of our team. And it becomes more important that you are following the line of thinking, the group of people that you think are, or that you're part of. It's more important that you follow their line of thinking than you follow your own line of thinking.
Yes.
And I think that that's what's really led to the decline of critical thought.
It is.
And so
because you don't want to be pushed away from the people around you. You want to be a part of the group. You want to be a part of the group, but if you say what's wrong, they're going to push you out. They're going to kick you out. They don't like you anymore. I've seen a lot of this. I've not seen a lot of it. I've heard a lot of it from the people I tend to relate with, people like with communities like that. I've never been in something like that, but it's like, it sounds exhausting to my brain.
Have machines nowadays that think for you, so you're not exercising that critical thought. You don't need to troubleshoot anymore because the machine does that for you. And then you also have society that's actively trying to suppress every form of critical thought that you can possibly fucking have. Like, there are a lot of things that many people can always agree on, but because of political spin, it turns into being a controversial issue. I think things like lobbying or something like that, like gerrymandering, etc. But people contort themselves into doing gymnastics to justify them because these things are what is preferential or advantageous for their side. And I think that the more that you do that, the more that you practice not thinking for yourself. You practice not actually applying your own thought, not trying to evaluate things based off of your own experiences. And the worst of all is the fact that it's not that you're not thinking, it's that you're letting somebody else do the thinking for you.
True.
And I think that's what people want, by the way. I think that there is a primal human desire to take all of your existential problems and then give them to somebody else, and then they're going to tell you all the answers.
There are people out there that are leaders, and there are people that are following the flock. And I think a lot of people nowadays are growing up to follow the flock.
You don't have to think about this shit anymore because that's really complicated.
True.
And it's much easier just to watch football.
Real.
Or play video games. So the fact is that that's
It's like for the WoW players out there, people that play games, why not join a guild instead of creating your own? Less hassle, no work. You join, you do the thing, you leave, it's bye, it's over, it's good. Like, there's nothing to worry about.
I think that we're losing a lot of critical thought. We don't have to use our brains anymore, and the times that we do are usually a mistake. And I think this is going to keep getting worse, by the way. It's going to keep getting worse and worse and worse until it reaches a fever pitch where it's just a unrecognizable reality and people have to turn around. But I think that, again, being able to, it's almost like it's kind of like I would say it's like virtue signaling, but it's like retard signaling in a way, where you're now you're going out and you're saying these things, and it's like, okay, this is the person who's saying that, you know, I don't want to give like a big list because it's going to trigger a lot of people in chat. But, you know, you're going into the NPC programming of certain people and you're saying the thing that you're supposed to say. And then once you do that, now you're part of a club. Now you can
they like you now.
Because you have decided to forego your own reality, forego your own critical thinking, and instead adopt the critical thinking and the reality of the group.
Like, if you start posting on Twitter that you hate this man, I hate him, you said, absolutely shit, blah, blah. I bet you're gonna find people that have the same view and they're gonna love you for it. But as soon as you post any positivity about this man, they're gonna hate you for the rest of your life.
I think that that's why we don't have people that think for themselves. It's because they're afraid to. They're afraid to think for themselves, because if they do, and they think too hard, or they think too much in one direction, they could end up ruining their entire life.
That's right.
And you see this happen.
Wouldn't want to do that.
You see this happen with someone like J.K. Rowling. Not like she's ruined her whole life, but it's just a person who is asking a question, who is trying to express their worldview, and they're completely hated by everybody.
Yep.
And I think that there are many such cases, and I'm curious, guys in chat, has there ever been an opinion that you think is just absolute common fucking sense, and then if you mention this opinion or you say this opinion, everybody hates you for it? And I think that the more of those that we discuss and we talk about, the more that we can get back to actually thinking as a form of coming to a conclusion rather than as a form of reverse engineering a conclusion. So it's like, instead of making up your mind on what's true and then trying to logically justify it, you should look at logic and try to, inductively decide what is actually the truth. And I would love to see things go back to that, but I think the first thing that you have to do is you have to acknowledge the things that are not that. And I think that we have so many of those nowadays in our society. And again, people are afraid to step outside of that box because you can ruin your life for doing so. And you see many such examples on social media and on the news. And I think that kids, again, are just getting farmed because they never have to critically think, because machines do everything for them. And I think that's exactly what's happening. And things are just going to keep getting worse until, number one, people can acknowledge it's a problem.
Also, by the way, I think kids are also scared of doing it. Like he said, thinking for yourself. If you have the wrong opinion, you'll be pushed away. I think there's a lot of moments where kids themselves are actually scared of doing this or having a different opinion. You will always have those outliers that are, I don't give a fuck and move on. Like if I was a kid now, I don't know, I'd probably be the same. But like the thing is that they don't want to be pushed away from their friends. They don't want to be harassed online. You know what I mean? They're just kids, right?
And number two, it legitimately becomes a problem. And I think you're probably going to see that in workplace productivity going down maybe in the next 20 years or so. Ooh. But by then we'll have everybody replaced by robots, so maybe it won't even matter. Either way, guys, that's what I think. So I'd be curious to hear, what is your example of something that is so critically obvious, but people try desperately to deny that it isn't true? And I've given...
Mine is actually, again, biology. The fact that women and men are working the same, that they are exactly the same. I think it's so obvious that both the male human body and female body has different weird chemical reactions, and completely ignoring that both actions and emotion are different or more prolonged for specific sexes is absolutely insane. There are things there are issues for men, there are issues for women. Are there a lot of people that are very much the same? Yes, but there are a more commonality in things, and people are trying to ignore the factor and always say to themselves, men and women exactly the same, built the same, think the same way, blah blah blah. It's just besides strength. Like it's wild.
Of my examples, some people might disagree with them. That's totally okay. But I think that many people have very similar examples, and I think that that is the real reason. And again, the lack of meaning and the lack of trying to identify with a group, or the lack of having a group to identify with, is the reason why people are willing to give up their critical thought and just immediately be part of that group instead, because it's a lot more convenient and it's a lot safer to do that. And so anyway, guys, I like making these videos.
Do more.
Let me know if you want to see more videos like this. I feel like these topics are sometimes a little bit heavier, so I try to be funny with them as much as I can. But
I'll tell them to do more.
I really appreciate you guys watching them. A lot of people were really positive about the last one. So if people like them, I'll keep making them. And if they don't like them, if I still feel like it, I'll make them anyway. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
I'll just tell him next time I talk to him. But yeah, I think this was a great video. I think it went over it. I liked his ideologies as well. This was a great video. Big W video from Zach. I think I've said all I need to say. So if you like this video, feel free to like the video. Tell me down below. Answer his question for me in my comment section as well. If you have any, I'd love to see what you have to say. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Sub to the channel if you watch more reacting. If you want to yap with me live, feel free to come by my Twitch channel on twitch.tv/attilleegames. Appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.